I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. We're going to do a 15 pet hunt with a Bukin. Hey guys, doing this hunt real quick. I'm going to talk over it. There's going to be a big skill boost in here because I complete a major part of what I'm doing here. The missions from the IFN, you get these big bonus rewards and whatnot. I actually get one of those, well, two, because there's male and female Monuras, which is why I picked these, because you're actually completing two at the same time. Now, granted, I could do, let's say I did the 100, the 500, and the 1,000, which would be 1,600 total creatures. I could do that in two different groups, maybe that were near each other, and then do the same thing. But I just like the idea of me going out there and just killing, not thinking about it, and they're all exactly the same level. They're great for testing, and then I come back with rewards, and I can kind of bounce that off each other. So I am completing stage 3, if I'm not mistaken, which is like 500 kills, or 1,000. No, it's 1,000 kills. So it's a pretty big reward. Stage 2 was 500 kills, and stage 1 was 100 kills. Stage 4, on the other hand, is like 5,000 kills. It's going to be a little bit before I get done with stage 4, but I am going to go at least to stage 5 before I leave Monuras alone, probably for a long time, because I'm going to be tired of Monuras. But we'll see. Depends on if Codex comes out, when it comes out, and where I am on the next Codex tier. I'd hate to leave like 20% shy of the next level of the Codex tier just because of that. Now, this particular hunt, I had a lot of stop and goes, a lot of starts, restarts. It was kind of a busy day, so it's just going to black out and come back, and then we'll come back. And then, of course, travel, I always do that too, because you don't actually want to see me flying through space in a slugger. It's real slow. Alright, so anyways, let me not digress and get into some of the thoughts I was thinking about. Okay, so there's a couple things to think about. One of the things I want to talk about real quickly here is about the fruit and its rarity. So I've noticed through the time I've collected that there's certain fruit and whatnot that is more rare seemingly than others. Though fruit doesn't have the initial value or reason. The reason why fruit was made is no longer a thing. It was part of a game that was supposed to be a phone game that was supposed to deal with pets and battles and arena and trying to get moving that way. And then you were having these pets, and then my thoughts were that each one of the fruit would have the ability of creating a generic recipe, or at higher levels you could create a more specific recipe. And those more specific recipes would be probably favored and give bonuses to certain types of creatures. Now that's not, I don't know what Compat was trying to do, but that would be if I was to build a game, that's what I would do probably. So maybe, carrots are favored by rabbits or carrot or whatever, and then maybe the lettuce is also a good one, but it does not like the HAI, if I spell it wrong, I'm sorry, MOROS, Hemorosa, I think is how it's pronounced. Anyways, maybe rabbits don't like that, so if you're playing a character that likes to eat those type of things, maybe that, but maybe a humanoid likes that and doesn't like the cabbage looking, whatever that one's called, I forget what it's called. Anyways, very different specialties, maybe it's flavors, maybe some are drinks, some are food, I don't know. And maybe this was just to start at the very beginning and it would go into more. But I have certainly seen that there are some fruit that are more rare. Now, also with found objects, you have stones. Stones have rarity, and what that does is it changes the appearance. So maybe fruit would do the same type of thing. Maybe it would turn the animal that color, or would allow, if they're able to breed, I don't know if they were ever going to go that way, maybe their offspring would turn that color. Anyways, so what I'm trying to get at is there is a built-in rarity to this fruit that no longer matters. So um, that is why we end up with a lot of the bigger, taller ones, but we don't end up with a whole lot of the Hemorosa. I've probably found only 3 or 4 of them ever. I think that's because they were designed to be the rarest of the fruit. Whereas the carroot, which is smaller, white, which often on sand is hard to see, or light colored stuff, really stands out in grass, but not so much. And so is the big green lettuce looking one. I forget what it's called. Starts with a B, I think. Anyways, it's right in the tip of my tongue. I'll probably remember it later. Anyways, that one is going to be more of a easy to see on sand and on dirt and that type of stuff, but it's kind of harder to see in grass. Not impossible, certainly. One of the other things that I'm kind of looking at with fruit and whatnot and stones and all this type of collection stuff is okay, so I have found that some fruit can be, or dung can be found near trees, like in close proximity, within 5 feet or yards, whatever the units are, of trees. But then there are some that I basically never see around there. And I have a small sample probably there, just I haven't found them yet. So, and I believe that part to be true. I just haven't found it yet. It's just a rarer thing to have. So that got me thinking about, okay, what about all these things that populate or unpopulate based upon the graphic setting you're in? If you're in very high graphics and you see all these tufts of grass and you see all these like plants that come up in stems and extra bushes and flowers and that type of stuff, and we turn down the setting so that you're able to better see that, or that's what many people do, are plants or are these fruit designed to be found within that, and that's why we don't find it? Or maybe they're not designed to be in there, and that's just a misnomer. And the reality is, if you were to have your graphics on a little bit, you would then see where not to go, because they're not in the tufts, they're not in that stuff. Now maybe grass, I've certainly found them in tufts of grass, but all these other intermediate plants, and the stuff I'm kind of working with right now is on Arcadia Moon, because that's where I spend the majority of my time, and where I'm spending all my time basically right now. So I'm kind of looking at the different baubles and that type of like plants and whatnot. Do I find around this? I purposely run over and look. Oh, there's nothing there. Oh, nothing over there. And so far, all the things that come up out of the ground besides grass, I've never found fruit in there. Now, I've only searched probably about 13, 14 hours of walking around looking at fruit. And I know 13, 14 hours seems like a tremendous amount of time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that crazy of amount of time. And certainly not 13, 14 hours of it was around those particular things. I'd run to it and then, continue my walk. And that's the other part, is it's a very small segment, and it's going to be hard to figure that out. But there's some of the stuff I'm looking at. And then, we'll figure it out from there. Anyways, I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about my thoughts on sweat. So sweat is kind of like a thing that a lot of people know to be a free way to make money and that type of stuff. And this is true, and this is good, and there's nothing wrong with this statement. The thing is, though, there are some people that believe that you should be investing in sweat, because maybe someday there's going to be an increase in the value of sweat again. I never see that happening. Not because something like sweat couldn't become more valuable, but I think because people have taken too much advantage of the situation already. What I mean by this is I've heard many people talk about the fact that they have 100,000 K sweat and they're looking to make little 0.1 PED differences on the buying and selling of this sweat. What's interesting to me is that that's what people are talking about. The reality of what some of these people are doing is far and away substantial. way more substantial than that actual number. Let me explain why. The reason why I believe this is true is because there are people obviously bodying. They're AFK bodying. They're collecting sweat. I figured it out, at least in my head, if I didn't say it in a couple videos ago. Essentially, you can make a crazy amount of sweat per hour versus the 2.5 hours when you first start to get 1,000 sweat. I think we got it down to about 30 minutes. So if you're making, let's say you do it for 10 hours a day while you're at work, not 24 hours a day, which is a reality for some people, especially with certain groups where they can afford to pay people to run multiple accounts at the same time. So one person could actually be playing 3 or 4 computers at the same time against the terms of agreement. Do not do this. And then doing auto clicks against the terms of agreement, that I'm sure. So don't do that. And then they're going to be just making 1K sweat an hour, or 2K sweat an hour essentially. Now if you times that by just 3, which we know this could be like 10 easily, you're looking at 6K sweat an hour. Or if you did it for 10 hours, you're only looking at 60K sweat. So that's literally an afternoon and a half or 2 days of sweating for some of these people that have 100K sweat. The market can't withstand that. There's no things that the market could do. The fact that sweat has value at all, in my opinion, has to do with the fact that people aren't selling. So this market is really being supported by nothing other than the fact that people are holding off on the idea that sweat someday will be valuable, because there's probably 30 of those people every day. So you're not looking at, 120K sweat every 2 days. You're looking at, I don't know what that would be. That'd be like 4,500,000, so 4.5 million sweat every 2 days is being harvested in one area on Calypso. So what these people are hoping for is at some point in time they can go and sell it all because there's some new function and they can get like 2 PED again, because of the difference between 1.2 to 1, or really 1.1 to about 2, 0.8, if they have, we'll say 10 million, use a small number, 10 million sweat, and they're making 0.8 PED or 80 PEC off of every 1,000. Yeah, that's a lot. That's like 800 PED, if I'm not mistaken, just off of one person doing that way. And I believe that the numbers are probably way higher than that. And I believe that Entropia or MindArc actually knows this, and that they know that there's no way in the world people would be able, the market would just absolutely crash, or people would be making off of the backs of basically cheating. They'd be making so much money off of this that it would put unfair money into people who really aren't there. So here's the thing, this game is free to play, this game doesn't have a monthly subscription, so these people could be doing this for years, for decades, and it would not cost them anything other than the manpower to do this. And if they were just a solo person in their basement doing this while they did whatever they do, or they're in a nation that's maybe the money isn't as important, this is like the paycheck you retire on. So this is money that would literally be leaving Entropia Universe, and I think it would absolutely be the collapse of Entropia Universe if several people pulled out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars out of that, because that 800 PED works out to be about what, $80. So you're almost to the point of withdrawal just with one, and I might be $8,000, but I might be wrong. But so it's a lot, and it would easily happen, and you'd probably have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars taken out of the game. So the reality is, sweat is dead. It's never coming back. Get what you can get. preferably keep it at 1.2. That's where I'm trying to sell my sweat at, but never have hopes that you're ever going to see like a 2.0 because of something Monura did to make the game great again with sweat. I think it's a fallacy. I think the best way to do is to create something called dehydrated crust that you can harvest for free off of an animal, and then make that your new thing that you're going to go ahead and make valuable and get that over 2 ped per 1,000. If Monura wants to do something, and if Monura is actually considering doing anything with sweat to do that, take this into consideration, please, before you get hammered. I actually don't think it'd ever make it to 2.0 ped. I think it would be kept down because of the amount of people that'd be willing to sell it. Literally, the supply is way, way higher than the demand ever could be. We're talking not even the same ballpark. Okay, so let me go ahead and look at something real quick here. It's going to be a little bit of a hiccup as I try and do this because how I normally do this will stop immediately. Alright, so the two skills I picked up was long blades and short blades. I'll go ahead and put some screenshots up here. Looks like I got 398 skill points for my short blades. Now I had short blades 1 when I got this, so that was an incredible amount of skill. I went from basically 1 to 399 just from turning in this reward. The other one is long blades. I had no long blades either, essentially, and my skill was raised by 417 points. That means that all the sword stuff you see is literally me going from level profession level 0 to profession level 2 to 3, depending on what it is. I got knife fighter damage, knife fighter hit, mounted laser for some odd reason. I have no idea why that happened. Probably because of my other combined skills of me shooting these things and that type of stuff. But I got swordsman damage 3 and swordsman hit 2, and that seems to be pretty standard with this, the way the skills went out. I got a 3 and I got a 2. So I picked up a bunch of stuff that was super good that way, and I ended up making a purchase in this game that was super important to me. So I've been looking at a lot of things that I want to add to the Bukin to maybe make it a little better. And I talked a little bit about it, maybe, I don't know if I actually said it in the video, if it was just part of my initial plan, is I wanted some way to improve the Bukin that could be done without using one of its tiers. And that would be like with a scope or a laser sight or whatever. And I found a scope that was for sale. I talked about it, I believe, in the last video, that I had like 15 hours left. I was the only one that put a bid in. I put a bid in for 1 ped. I ended up getting that bid for 1 ped. You can see that here. It is the Alzek, ALEKZ precision scope blueprint. This is a blueprint that probably creates limited scopes. The blueprint itself is not limited, which means it's going to be around forever, which means that I will slowly skill up, and I probably will be wasting a lot of materials at first, and eventually, hopefully, it will do better in the end. But most importantly is that this is, I'll never pay markup for the scope, and the scope blueprint often sold for TT plus 5 to 6 ped plus change. So for me to get it at 1 ped, TT plus 1, I think that is, or just 1 ped, I don't know actually what the TT of it was. That to me is actually a really good deal. Now, whether the scope is worth it or not, I don't know. What I want to see with this scope is, because of the increased decay that I'm adding to the Bukin, am I still profitable? I am maxed. The skill, I'm not going to get anything from the skills or whatever, which this doesn't actually add skill necessarily. It's more adding decay. And a cool zoom function, I guess, if I really want that. But will I get better items? will this 34 extra ped on top of the 10.5 for the Bukin actually start to unlock weapon drops on my rares, or when I actually get minis, mini globals, where it doesn't actually broadcast the global, maybe I can actually get those to become actual globals. And will they be 3 or 4 times bigger because they're now actually a global and the decay cost has gone up by so much? Will I see my return on shrapnel go from 0.01 being the low average? But it certainly is a low average. I get a lot at 0.01. It just is. Will I start to see that maybe 0.3, 0.04, excuse me, 0.03? That's where I think the new one is, and I think that's going to make hunting different. Now, I'm still going to have to find a way to replace the scope when it happens, and I'll have to probably build that back. But that's a whole different thing that I have to worry about in the future. Okay, so go ahead and take a look real quick at the skills. Sorry for going on an extended period of time here. Looks like this is another one of those missions. It's under 2 ped loss. This means I could do this every day and build up my skill, which is exactly what you're hoping for. You know, I didn't get anything super rare. I got basically the fundamentals of the game. Shrapnel was a little low for what I like. I like to see about 66% of my returns to be shrapnel, or I like to see super rare stuff. So this was one of those kind of, it met in the middle. I got a lot of the stuff that I can sell for some markup, not tremendous markup, and I got a lot of stuff that, well, I got a lot of stuff that I could sell, but generally you're looking at less than the percent of markup that I'm talking about. With that, I'm talking about the animal muscle oil and the animal oil residue. Both of those have a very, very small markup, and that was a large portion of what I found. Over, was that 4.6 ped or something like that? Anyway, so a lot of my return was that. So I hope you guys like this. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Also, I'm doing a lot of stuff with live stream stuff on Facebook. It's not necessarily Entropia Universe. I've been doing a lot of painting. I've been doing some talking about that type of stuff. I am going to be doing some Entropia Universe stuff here in the future on Facebook. So one of the things I want to do is a live stream of me collecting fruit. I talk a lot about fruit in these last 2 videos, so I actually want to live stream it and show you the way I collect fruit and whatever, and then eventually very soon here, I'm going to have my take 2, and it's going to be about fruit and found objects and that type of stuff. I'll find stone where I'm going to go live. But I got 2 live stream ideas. We'll see what people think about it, and then we'll go from there. If it's wildly successful or popular, then I'll continue to stream that over there. Probably do an edited version over on YouTube if you didn't go to Facebook and happen to catch it. You can find me on Facebook as DM Zone. There's a space between the DM and the XOAN. You can also find me there on Instagram that way. Though I'm still getting back into Instagram, so give me a few minutes to get caught up with that. I do have a pretty good amount of followers though on Instagram. So anyways, hope you guys like it. I appreciate it. Keep earning that ped, and thank you for watching.